Okay, so I'm using the Liquitex matte medium and the Liquitex, not the gloss medium, pouring medium. So this is what that looks like. I'm going to take a little bit, and this is the matte medium. Now I'm using mostly matte medium, but I'm putting in a little bit of pouring medium just because that pouring medium is more liquid. Don't worry too much if you don't get enough, because you can add more later. So now I'm going to take my colors and I'm going to use ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, phthalo turquoise, Payne's gray, iridescent gold deep, iridescent copper fine, and I think I'll use this gold, which is a iridescent gold fine, and maybe I'll throw in some greens. Oops. Some chromium oxide green, some cobalt teal, and maybe some permanent green light. So I've got my pouring medium and matte medium. Now if you want to be more scientific about this, you can put them in a cup, mix them together, pour them back out. But this is really fine for what we're doing right now. So I'm going to run the color all along. Doesn't really matter that much what you do. Just get down plenty of color. This is the cerulean blue. That was the ultramarine. Here's the chromium green oxide. Here's the cobalt teal, my favorite. Now for contrast, I'm using the phthalo turquoise. And I'm using the Payne's gray, which will give it more contrast. To lighten it, I'm going to be using the golds. Oops, that went everywhere. And here's another gold. I think I'm going to wait on the copper. Now I'm also going to use the buff titanium, which is my favorite light color. I use a fair amount of that. Okay, so now you've got kind of a pool of color, and we're just going to let it run and see what happens. It's sort of mesmerizing to watch. Like I said, if you're having a really stressful day and you want to just do something that's mindless and lots of fun, do this. And you're not wasting your time because you're going to use it later. Now you can see as the colors move further down, they start to mix finer and finer and finer. And experiment with this, play around with it. Tape a sheet of plastic to a wall if you've got that kind of room. Now it's getting to the bottom, so I'm going to move it this way. How much you slant the board, of course, makes a difference as to what's happening. So now I'm going to turn it over, slant it the other way. And I don't like that white at the top, that medium at the top, so I'm going to slant it up. Now sometimes I just put down big sheets of plastic and just let it run onto the floor, but I'm not going to do that here. And there again, you can do whatever you want. You can take a little bit of color and draw in it with your tool to elongate some lines, make some patterns. Use the other side. Break up some places that are a little more solid. You can use this kind of tool, which will give it more of a, mix the color a little more. It's probably a good idea if you see little holes to move the color into those, or you can come back in with some medium. Drop a little more medium in them. If you can leave the holes if you like them, but it does make it a little more difficult to deal with. And these little places at the end, if you don't want those, you can add a little more medium. And you can move the paint some more. Not showing that too well. You can see where you drop the medium in, it's a little bit different. And it's going off the edge there, so I'm going to stop. So, you can blow into it. You can spray a little alcohol in it. Now you can see how this is actually the bottom and that's the top. That's where we started pouring, and you can see how the color is more defined at the top. And then as it comes down, it mixes more and more and more, and it's more and more subtle. So when you get down here, it's very, very subtle. So I think that that's probably about enough. That kind of shows you the basics. Take a little more time than I did with it. Get that kind of put together. And let it dry for a couple of days at least before you use it. Okay, so this is what the dripping method looks like of a pouring when you get it done. This has been probably 4 or 5 days since I did this one, and I'm ready to peel it off now. So we start at one corner. Now they're thin. Sometimes they'll stick more than others depending on the medium. This was done with a combination of matte and pouring medium, so it's not going to be as sticky as if you used a glazing medium or a gloss medium. But I want to show you what it looks like to pull it off. And there we go. You can see it's totally different on the back than it is on the front, which is really fun. And when you're collaging, you can collage with either side. Now, if you, depending on the medium, if you take this and you fold it and press it for any length of time and leave it there, it will stick. You can see it's starting to stick already. If it's press down hard enough, especially with a gloss medium or a glazing medium, it will not come apart no matter what you do. So you'll get some interesting juxtapositions that way, but that's not necessarily what you want. If you're having a problem with sticking, first of all, once you turn it over, if you let it dry another couple days, that can alleviate some of the problem. The second thing that you can do is that you can coat it with some matte medium, which will keep it from being quite so sticky. If you want to go further than that, you can coat it with clear gesso, or I'm not sure if we have some, but Liquitex makes a clear gesso, and the clear gesso basically gives it almost like a sandy texture, and nothing will happen to it then. So that's something you have to think about, especially when you're first taking them